Forget sugar. There's a carb out there that's way more dangerous, and you're probably eating it every single day. This carb spikes your blood sugar faster than pure glucose. It's in your bread, your cereal, your healthy snacks, and it's destroying your body from the inside out. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is, where it's hiding, and why it's been called the silent killer of the modern diet. Stick around because what I'm about to show you will change the way you eat forever. Let's get into it. Today we're talking about the #1 most dangerous carb in the world, and it's not sugar, not even by a long shot. This carbohydrate creates a massive blood sugar spike, way more than sugar. But it's not even classified as a sugar. It's a carb, but it's not a sugar. Confusing, right? Here's what it does to your body. It has the potential to create type 2 diabetes and a fatty liver. It causes insulin resistance, which is the precursor to diabetes. In other words, it will mess with your blood sugar big time. It creates visceral fat, and that's the fat around your organs. It disrupts your good gut bacteria and feeds the bad guys. It's a super inflammatory carbohydrate, creating inflammation not just in your joints, but especially in your gut. And if you're ever concerned about the true bad cholesterol, the small LDL particles that can invade the inside of your arteries, this carb will do it in a heartbeat. It's marketed as zero sugars. It only costs 20 cents per pound, and it's subsidized, meaning taxpayers are actually fronting the money for it, so you can get it at a fraction of the real cost. What's the purpose of this carbohydrate? It has no health benefits, and it's a filler. It adds bulk to a product. An average person consumes between 65 and 250 pounds of this stuff every single year. That's 21 billion pounds produced every year. Can you guess what it is yet? Let me give you more clues. It's a starch, but not just any old starch, not the potatoes your grandmother served you. We're talking about industrial starch, modified food starch, corn starch, maltodextrin. This is the #1 most dangerous carb in the world. Now, what is a starch? A starch is a string of sugar molecules on a chain, but when you modify it in the lab, you strip away all the armor. You refine it and break it down to such a level that the bonds between the sugar become very, very weak and fragile. So when you consume it, it breaks down into sugar so fast, even faster than glucose. And when I talk about industrial starch, I'm not talking about potatoes or even the starch in vegetables. I'm talking about this powder that has been so highly refined. And what I mean by refined, it's mechanically ground down into small particles. They add bleach. Yes, bleach. But of course, if you consume this in a spoon, it would not be very pleasurable. It's not even that sweet unless you chewed it for a while. Because if you chewed it, even if you took a piece of bread in your mouth, it wouldn't be sweet unless you chewed it a little bit. You'd break down the bonds to release the sugar, and then it would be sweet. Let me run through very quickly just the chemicals they use in this modification. You really need to know this. One chemical they use is called sodium tripolyphosphate. This has been linked to kidney stress and vascular calcification. It may worsen bone demineralization and accelerate the aging process in arteries. Here's another one, vinyl acetate. Vinyl acetate is considered a possible human carcinogen. Here's another one, sodium hypochlorite, and this is bleach. Bleach is interesting because they regulate bleach in water supplies as a carcinogen, but they don't regulate it in food starch. Overexposure is linked to kidney stress and damage to your enamel and mucosal tissues, and then they add this other chemical. This is widely used in infant formulas and beverages. It may disrupt mitochondrial function if consumed in excess. Here's the point. All of those chemicals I just mentioned are self-regulated under something called GRAS, which stands for Generally Recognized as Safe. And so the question is, how can it actually be safe if it's not even tested for long-term studies? You don't have to really wonder why we have chronic disease. Look at this. We have 16 grams of total carbohydrate. We have 1 gram of fiber, and we have 0 grams of sugar. What is left? We have 15 grams of a carbohydrate that is not listed on this nutritional facts label. And that is why starch is invisible. You don't see it unless you read the ingredients. And understand that modified food starch, modified corn starch, wheat starch are all industrial starches. It's basically extra damaged protein that clogs everything up. It's directly responsible for the complications of diabetes and also the Alzheimer's plaquing in the brain and also the fibrosis or scar tissue in your liver. But there's one more thing I need to mention. Without giving you a lot of big words, this is a byproduct of glucose from the starch. It's called an aldehyde. I don't know if you've ever heard about this chemical, but this is what they use to embalm people, to preserve them. The other one is another chemical that I'm not going to give you the long name on. All you need to realize is that it's the toxin that occurs after you drink alcohol, the day after when you have the hangover. But don't worry, it gets worse. If you take a look at junk food, what is it composed of? Sugar, starch, and seed oils, right? But when you combine the starch with the seed oil under heat, you create a compounded toxic soup. That is deadly on your tissues. Very few people just consume starch by itself. They have it in different forms, like chips, potato chips, which is mostly seed oil and refined industrial starch. And if you go in the snack aisle in the grocery store, you'll see all sorts of versions of these chips, or crunchy things with basically seed oil and more starch. Chips have like 65% starch, 30% oil. Then we get crackers. Cheez-Its, 70% starch, 25% seed oils. Then we have cereals, 80% starch. Sometimes they put seed oils, but mostly they add sugar to that. But there's usually always some seed oil involved. What have we got in bread? 75% starch, maybe some sugar, but definitely seed oils, 15%. Pasta has starch. We have 15% seed oils. French fries, 80% starch, 15% seed oils. So what's really bizarre to me is that so many of us have been focused on sugar for so many years, but the starch is actually consumed in way higher quantities. And actually, it's more deadly. Now remember, I'm not just picking on starches. I'm not picking on this potato you'd get from the garden or vegetable starches. I'm picking on the industrial starches, like these mashed potatoes that have been highly processed. There's a big difference between you cooking a fresh potato and you just adding water to this powder. But of course, some people say, I don't eat cornstarch. But then, if you look in their pantry, they usually have some Pop-Tart or some other food that has modified cornstarch. But because they don't read the label, they don't know. And then they'll tell me, well, it's organic. But look at how much starch and seed oils are in here. It's the same as non-organic. What's pretty wild is I was in the grocery store the other day and I bought these hot dogs. And the third ingredient is modified food starch in hot dogs. Why? Because it's a filler to add bulk. So if we look at the definition of food, that which is eaten to sustain life, promote growth, and repair of tissues. Does the ingredients in ultra-processed food calories, also known as junk food, industrial starch, fit this definition? No, it does not fit the biological definition of the word food, and it shouldn't be called food, but it is because of various loopholes built into the legal definition of food, which is a completely different conversation. So they can actually keep selling it and calling it food. The basic 3 ingredients for most junk food, ultra-processed foods. Sugar, usually synthetic sugar, makes up 5 to 20% of that. Seed oils make up 20 to 35% of that. And starches make up the majority. 55 to 75% of ultra-processed food calories are starches. And I created a really cool app for you to use to identify these 3 things. All you have to do is download the free app. Then scan the barcode on any box of food. And it'll quickly represent these 3 things. So you can visually see how much of these are in the foods in your pantry, in your refrigerator, or at the grocery store. Unfortunately, 65% of the calories young children eat are ultra-processed foods, and 55 pounds of that is just industrial starch. When you get to teenagers, it's 70% of their calories are ultra-processed foods, and that's over 106 pounds of actual industrial starch. Now, these numbers are extremely conservative. It's probably a lot more, but it's just one reference that I found. Adults have 55% of their calories ultra-processed food and 67 pounds of industrial starch. It's mind-blowing that the great majority of our calories are ultra-processed food calories. Think about that for a second. More than half of what we're eating isn't even real food. It's factory-made filler, chemicals disguised as nutrition. And we're feeding it to our kids, we're eating it ourselves, and wondering why we're sick, tired, and overweight. Now, I really gave starches a black eye, okay? But here's what you need to understand. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because the same handful of industrial starch can either fuel disease or you can avoid it and fuel your body with real nutrition. The choice is yours, but you have to know what you're looking at. You have to read labels. You have to understand that modified food starch isn't just a harmless ingredient. It's a red flag. And when you see it combined with seed oils and sugar, you're looking at a recipe for disaster. Diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver, inflammation, brain fog, weight gain that won't budge no matter what you do. All of it traces back to these three ingredients. And industrial starch is the biggest offender because it's invisible. It doesn't show up as sugar on the label. It hides in plain sight, and it's in everything. Your bread, your crackers, your healthy granola bars, your protein shakes, your baby formula. It's everywhere, and it's cheap. That's why food manufacturers love it. It adds bulk without adding cost, but you're paying the price with your health. So what do? First, start reading labels. Look for modified food starch, cornstarch, maltodextrin, wheat starch. If you see any of those, put it back. Second, eat real food and whole foods. Foods that don't need a label. Vegetables, fruits, meats, eggs, nuts, seeds. Things that come from the earth, not a factory. Third, cook at home. I know it's not always convenient, but when you cook at home, you control what goes into your food. No hidden starches, no seed oils, no chemicals you can't pronounce. Fourth, don't fall for the organic or gluten-free trap. Just because something is organic doesn't mean it's healthy. It can still be loaded with industrial starch and seed oils. Read the ingredients, always. And fifth, share this information because most people have no idea this is happening. They think they're eating healthy. They think they're making good choices, but they're being lied to by food labels, by marketing, by an industry that profits from keeping you sick. It's time to take back control. So there you have it. The #1 most dangerous carb in the world, industrial starch, modified food starch, cornstarch, maltodextrin. It's in almost everything you eat. And it's destroying your health one bite at a time. But now you know. And knowledge is power, so use it. Read your labels, avoid ultra-processed foods, and choose real whole foods instead. Your body will thank you, your energy will come back, your weight will stabilize, and your risk of chronic disease will plummet. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe because I've got more videos coming that expose the truth about what's really in your food. Next up, we're diving into seed oils. And trust me, you don't want to miss that one. Until next time, eat real food, stay informed, and take care of your body. It's the only one you've got.